Fight in Canada. Dan Tom here with MMA Junkie to help you break down the co-main event for UFC 315 between Valentina Shevchenko and Manon Fiorot. Fiorot, of course, akin to Jack Della Maddalena, the other title challenger on the card, started her career rough with a loss, but was able to bounce back and go undefeated since then, stringing together 7 wins inside the UFC's Octagon en route to this title opportunity. However, she has a big task as Valentina Shevchenko is not a multiple-time UFC champ or multiple-time champion in multiple sports for no reason. The odds makers, despite opening the champion as the favorite, well, the public money has flipped that line, and now Manon Fiorot is your favorite heading into this fight in the neighborhood of minus 150 with the comeback on the champion Shevchenko as your underdog in the neighborhood of plus 118. Now, seeing that line flip can feel a bit disrespectful when the champion's name ends up with a plus number next to it. However, I get it. Whether we're talking about women's MMA or the modern day MMA, volume is king, or perhaps in this case, queen, if Fiorot can pour it on. However, Fiorot does have a suspect gas tank, and with a looming countering threat that wasn't even as big in a fight she was controlling against Blanchfield. Well, we saw her slow down over 5 rounds like she did over 3 against Shevchenko, who can make suspect decisions, but she has that 5-round experience, that countering ability. Well, we could see a very kind of stalemate and a much closer fight no matter who you like, especially with that southpaw versus southpaw dynamic at play. It can kind of plague fights as far as who the perceived advantages go to, but for what it's worth, according to the stats, Shevchenko 2-1 against fellow UFC level southpaws. Of course, that lone loss being to Liz Carmouche, later avenged, whilst going 1-1-1 in a brutal series with Alexa Grasso, who, despite being an orthodox fighter, primarily fought southpaw and though earned crucial minutes in those series. Well, Shevchenko actually, outside of losing those moments, won the majority of minutes in rounds and comported herself quite well in the striking exchanges, with the lead hand to the leg kicks and head kicks that could quietly be live in the surprisingly kickable Manon Fiorot. That being said, it's going to be a close fight. It'll probably be an ugly fight. I am siding with the current champ to perhaps test that ground game of Fiorot and that recently acquired Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt of hers. However, to see pathways to both sides, stats, and the like, check out my in-depth breakdown over at MMAJunkie.com, where you can find results this weekend.